Let's now take our eyes away from the beautiful bird to the rather messy, disgusting nest box, because it is minging, that nest box. It's got flies, it's got bits of dead prey, it's got poo, it's got pellets. You know, you wouldn't want to be anywhere near that nest box. But let's focus in on just something our nest watchers noticed in the bottom of that nest box. If we zoom in, they noticed while they were really watching the owls, they took their eyes away from the chicks to this. And you can see it's a moth. Didn't know what type of moth it was, so our researchers contacted Tony Davis at Butterfly Conservation. He had a good look at it. You can see there are more than one, and they're all kind of making their home in the bottom of all of this mess that the barn owls have left. And anyway, Tony Davis reckoned it was a skin moth. That's what it's called.
A skin moth.
It sounds lovely, doesn't it?
It certainly does. We can take a closer look at one here. Here is the skin moth, Monopsis livigella. They're quite common across the UK, and the larvae are active between December and March when they feed on animal remains, detritus in the nest, and those pellets, because they have a penchant for keratin. That's the fabric that makes up our fingernails and hair. And of course, those pellets are full of all of the hair of those regurgitated mammals. So here's a potential feast for the larvae of these moths. The adults here are not feeding, they're in the process of mating. And look at the one lower in your screen there. We presume that's a male. Look, fanning its wings, perhaps trying to impress a female in this fetid mess. And then, of course, she will lay her eggs and the larvae will feed in that mess there until the end of the year, and then the cycle will begin all over again. And these skin moths are quite like the clothes moths that you may unfortunately have in your home, which are feed on those organic things like cotton and wool.
It's amazing, though, what goes on in that box. It's a whole ecosystem, because then our nest watchers noticed something else. They noticed the underarms of these little chicks. You can see they're very black. Wasn't the only one that had these black markings underneath its armpits. So they sent footage to Dr. Matt Stevens at the Hawke Conservancy Trust. Hadn't seen it that dark before. He said they can have grubby armpits, but then when we took a really close look, you can actually see that it's alive. It's an ectoparasite. So this got a whole conversation going about what it could possibly be. Which ectoparasite could it be? Well, it's a fly called Carnus hemapterus.
Carnus hemapterus, a fly to end all flies. What an absolute beauty. Living in the armpit of a baby barn owl. And here you can see it. How can that be a fly, you're asking? It's got no wings. Well, it doesn't want wings to encumber it. If you're writhing around in the armpit of an owl, you don't want wings. So what's going on there? Well, look, they overwinter here as a pupa in the nest. They emerge in the spring, and at this stage, they do have wings. Some of them may want to disperse to move out of that nest, just in case the owls don't come back. But the owls do have very strong sight tenacity. They will come back to the same boxes, and when they do, the flies latch onto those chicks, and at that point they actually dump their wings. They get rid of those wings. Then they go through the mating process. They lay their eggs in all of that detritus, the larvae hatch and start to feed, and the cycle goes on and on. What a fly. A whole ecology of invertebrates going on in one nest. Absolutely sensational.
And let's have a look, actually. We check back at our chicks, at our live barn owl nest, and see what is going on there. We'll have a look, see, because, you know, we were concerned about them then, but look, they have grown, they're looking good, feathers are there. Can't actually see underneath their armpits.
Well, not any longer, not any longer. But they could have as many as 50 of these flies on them. And you might be thinking, is that going to cause them any harm? As you say, they're looking pretty healthy there. Well, studies have been done looking at kestrels, and they found that, in fact, the flies have almost negligible harm. It's much more the weather, food availability and predation that will impact their numbers. So here is not quite a symbiosis. These are parasites, there's no doubt about that, but there's a balance going on there because obviously the flies don't want to exterminate their host, otherwise be up the creek the next year, wouldn't they?
Well, I'll tell
Amazing.
you what, it is amazing, but it has made everyone at home just have slightly scratchy arms.
Apart from all the fly fans, let's hear it on social media for the flies, folks, otherwise these guys are going to cut them out.
That'd be tragic, wouldn't it?